Get my cowboy hat.
So, hi everyone. This is Nigel Sharpe for Country Music News International, and today I've got Mr. Rick Stanley, and he's sitting all over there. He's sitting over there, all the way in to Kansas, a little place called Clifton in Kansas. So, hi Rick, how you doing?
Hi, Nigel. Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
I'm doing great. We got some snow here in Clifton, but it's going to go away and weather's going to be great again.
you can only hope.
That's
Kansas in
right.
the middle of the winter, and you're hoping for no snow. Okay, I'm keeping my
Not
fingers crossed for that one for you.
going to happen.
So you might be in Clifton in Kansas now, but I'm kind of guessing that's not where you're from originally. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm originally from a little town in Tennessee called Soddy Daisy, which is just north of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and that's where I was born and raised.
Okay. And why did you leave Tennessee?
Well, I joined the United States Army, and the Army sent me all over the world, eventually to Germany, and so I spent 15 years of my military career in Germany, and they sent me to Fort Riley, Kansas, and I'm still in Kansas.
Okay, makes sense, I guess. So, with regard to music, now I know you're a singer and a songwriter. Um, when did you first get into music? Were you a little kid or were your parents musical?
I first got into music in church on Sundays. We would sing with my mom, my grandma, and my aunt, and she played the organ and piano in church, and that's how I started was singing music in church with my family.
And what about playing instruments? When did you start playing something like the guitar or the fiddle?
I originally started playing drums. The preacher came to me one day and said, "You're playing drums on Sunday." I told the preacher I'd never played drums in my life, but I played drums on Sunday. I played drums for a while, and I picked up an acoustic guitar, a saxophone, and so I just kind of picked up an instrument when I needed it. And I'm not a master of any of them by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay. So when you started writing songs, then how did you do that? I mean, were you using an instrument or was it all in your head? How did that
Well, it
work for you?
started in my head. Uh, just song lyrics started popping up, and I said, "Well, I probably ought to see if I can follow this up with a melody of some kind." And so I would start coming up with melodies on the guitar, and just kind of worked out like that.
So how old were you when you first started doing that?
I think I popped off my first song probably when I was 16 or 17, maybe.
Okay.
It was a song about a truck stop hooker.
That's fair enough.
I think it was after I saw Smokey and the Bandit, maybe.
Well, there's the thing. So, yes, I mean, what were you listening to at that time? Who was on the radio? Who was
I
touring
listened
around?
to it's called classic rock now, but I was listening to Elton John and Doobie Brothers, Leonard Skinner, good classic rock like that. And then uh, I think in 1977, I saw a band called the Wright Brothers Overland Stage Company. It's a band out of Indianapolis, Indiana. And they were like a country bluegrass rock band. And that blew me away. So I started playing country music after that.
That's actually quite similar for me. I was listening to these modern country bands. What kind of fascinated me was what their influences were. Sort of where did they come from? So when did you start kind of picking up on the classic country artists? If you're thinking about Hank Williams Sr. or George Jones, I mean, did you kind of
Immediately,
trace it back from these bands back to their traditional country
immediately
artists?
when I started doing country music, I went back and started with Hank Williams Sr. And him, George Jones, and Merle Haggard were the guys that I wanted to emulate and be like. And so I did that for a long time until one day my mom said, when are you going to start singing like Rick Stanley instead of George Jones?
Yeah, it's a fair question, isn't it? How do you see yourself as a musician? I mean, are you a singer or are you a songwriter? Is it a combination of the two? Which do you prefer doing, performing or writing?
Well, I actually prefer performing because when you're performing, you can feed off of the crowd and you can read the crowd and interact with the crowd and do things like that and interact with the musicians you're playing with. That's what really makes me tick and have a really good time. But the songwriting part, it's just amazing that you just snap your fingers and an idea pops into your head and you write stuff and it just sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. I've got a song book that's got a whole bunch of songs that I started,
But never
so
finished.
but never finished. Yep.
Yeah.
But sometimes you write something in 10 or 15 minutes and it's like that's pretty good. Those are the good days.
Yeah. So you must have been around quite a bit here, there, and everywhere performing. And what was the most interesting place you ever visited, especially in your army career?
The most interesting place musically or just in general?
Just in general.
Well, the most interesting place that I've visited ever was the uh, American Cemetery at Normandy, France.
Oh,
It's
right.
just amazing hallowed ground. I took my dad there because uh, he fought in World War II, came up shore on D-Day on Omaha Beach, and so he went through the whole World War II thing. So we went back, and I went back with him, and it was just one of the most amazing things I've ever done in my life, and probably won't get that amazing again.
Yeah, that's a pretty good story. Going back to the music side of things, what would you say was your best experience as a performing musician, and what would be your worst experience as a performing musician?
Well, I met this guitar player over in Germany. He's from England, and he kind of changed my musical direction around and got me focused and uh, made the band that we had really solid. And we had so many wonderful musical experiences together. And I think you might know him.
Yeah, sounds kind of familiar. What about the worst experience, though?
Oh goodness gracious, uh, the worst experience.
Might have been the where you were, or it's a terrible
Maybe I try to block
audience.
those out.
Yeah,
uh, holy smokes! Really and truly, if I'm making music, if it's for one or 101, I enjoy it. So uh, I really probably the worst thing ever for me was when the army sent me to Fort Riley and took me out of Germany.
okay.
That was pretty heartbreaking.
If my memory serves me correctly, Fort Riley, wasn't that General Custer's
Yes, that's correct.
fort?
Custer's,
That's right. You know,
Custer's headquarters was there. Yes,
remember my history there. Um,
he
going back
lost.
to, let's go back to the music. As a songwriter, I mean, writing these lyrics, what kind of things inspire you in terms of writing lyrics? Is it really always spontaneous, or is there something that you experience, or that something that you see?
It's almost with me almost spontaneous. I cannot go down in the basement to the music room and say I'm going to write a song today. It's not going to happen. But like when I'm driving in the car, I'll have an idea. I'll have a napkin or something by, and I'll have lyrics written on the napkin while I'm driving the car. They're everywhere. So it's pretty much inspiration on the spot, and then the idea pops in my mind, and then I work the idea around and try to come up with something that people might enjoy.
Can you say that, from the songs that you've written, there's a particular kind of style that you write in? I mean, do you write emotional love songs, or are they kind of more gritty urban comments, or is it kind of you never know?
I
Could be
never
anything.
have a clue, not a clue. I've written uh, love songs. I've written crazy songs like "She Broke My Heart and I Broke Her Jaw." I mean, it's it's everywhere. So just shoot a target and see what happens, I guess.
Okay. Okay, final question for you is what are your future plans in the world of music?
Well, I would like to actually work with my guitar player and see if we can come up with another really good CD, because we had a pretty good one the first time, but I think that we can do better. And I'd
Okay.
like to take another shot at making a CD and uh, doing a better job. I think we did a good one the first time, but I think you can always do better. And I'd like to do that and
Yeah.
come up with some more ideas and bounce them off each other and put something out for the folks to hear and enjoy.
Well, that's a nice positive attitude in these kind of tough times at the moment. How is it for you over there in the States? I mean, here where I am, it's lockdown. As a musician, you've got no possibility to go out and play. None.
Well, here as a musician, there in this part of Kansas is almost zero opportunities for any musician to play. So to actually play music, you have to go 2 3 hours away to Kansas City or Wichita to actually play music. So I've uh, I'm still doing music, but I'm doing more of a DJ thing or a solo gig when I can. So, but there's not really lockdown here, but they limit the number of people that can be in any area. So they limit to 50 people. That's only 50 people you can have in an event, or 20 or whatever. It's by county, so each county has different numbers. So it's kind of crazy.
Okay, so there's no national regulations.
No, it's all states and counties.
Okay, okay, so it's really national government controlled here. You know, when the government says it's lockdown, then it's lockdown, and for everyone.
Right.
So so people are kind of suffering right now. Um, so it's becoming a thing over here, you know, for musicians to get into this kind of online collaboration, and that's something that I'm getting involved in as well with a number of other like-minded people. It seems to be growing actually. So um, I think
Well,
you've
I
got
think
to.
that if you can pass files back and forth with each other, it's probably the way to do business right now with
Well,
with
it
the
is,
virus the
yeah.
way it is.
I think you've got to try and look at it positively and say, okay, so instead of saying we can't do this, you've got to be able to say what can we do, or
Right.
how can we do this,
Right.
and and find a way to do it. So I don't know, that's the way I see it.
I think we can do it.
Yeah. So I'd like to say thanks very much for taking the time for this interview, and from over this side of the pond. I wish you all the best for the future, and thank you very much, Mr. Rick Stanley.
It was a pleasure speaking with you. I hope you learned something about what goes into this crazy mind of mine, and I appreciate you taking the time for us and for to do what I love to do more than anything else, play music.
Okay. Thanks, Rick, and bye.
Bye.